I was reborn on the day I confessed to my childhood friend. Amidst the crowd's teasing, he looked at me with my eyes red from crying and coldly asked, "Lucia, is making a scene fun for you?" Then he turned to look tenderly at his ideal girl beside him. "Wait for me a moment. I'll come find you after I deal with this." He impatiently lectured me. "Why are you always crying? If you have time, read more books. Don't spend all day thinking about love and relationships." I was so annoyed. I pushed him away and fell onto the school bully standing behind him watching the commotion. "Hubby!" I cried uncontrollably while hugging the person in my arms. 18-year-old Eric was still alive. Everything could still be changed. Ding. This novel reminds you to click the subscribe button in the bottom right corner to read the complete novel. Before Eric died, he made me pinky promise to live until I was 100 years old before going to find him. I promised him, but then I lied to him. On the third day he died, I went to find him. Before I closed my eyes, I made up an excuse for myself. When I saw him, I would say that I dreamed he was flirting with other female ghosts down there. Actually, I didn't dream. I couldn't sleep at all without him. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back at 18 years old. I was holding flowers, with teasing voices rising and falling around me. "Confess, confess." The crowd surged, but I spotted that eye-catching yellow hair at first glance. He stood in an unnoticed corner, his gaze passing over me seemingly casually yet deliberately. I looked at him, and my tears instantly became uncontrollable. Just as I was about to speak, Henry Foster's voice appeared. "Lucia, is making a scene fun for you?" In a daze, I finally noticed the person in front of me. His brows were slightly furrowed, his expression cold. The lively atmosphere froze. Until Joanna broke the awkwardness. "Henry, we need to confirm the award acceptance speech." Henry turned his head to look at her. "Wait for me a moment. I'll come find you after I deal with this." His expression was rarely gentle. Joanna was a top student like Henry. Someone once joked that the two of them were academic gods, a perfect match. But Joanna disdainfully threw out, "I'm not the kind of girl who only thinks about love." At that time, Henry's gaze towards her carried rare appreciation. He had also told me before that he didn't like girls who only thought about love. But back then, I only had him in my mind. I even foolishly wanted to confess to him on my birthday, thinking he wouldn't embarrass me at least on my birthday. Later I understood. He hated it most when I tried to emotionally manipulate him. Just like now. He took the flowers from my arms, somewhat impatiently. "If you have time, read more books. Don't spend all day thinking about love and relationships." I was stunned for a moment. Whispers arose from the crowd. "Look, Lucia is crying. She's been fawning over Henry for so many years, and now the school beauty has become a joke. I feel embarrassed for her. In my previous life, I did cry a lot because of the humiliation, but at this moment, my eyes were only on that yellow-haired guy in the corner. I stared straight at him, opening and closing my mouth. I trembled, unable to make a sound. Tears just kept flowing. Seeing me like this, Henry frowned and sighed. "Lucia, why are you always crying?" I was so annoyed. He kept talking and blocking my view. I pushed Henry away forcefully and ran to hug the person I had lost and regained. "Hubby. Hubby, you're still alive. That's so good." The warm chest, the familiar sunny scent. I hugged him, crying uncontrollably. The person in my arms stiffened. "No, you've got the wrong person, right?" His face turned red to the ears. "Lucia, who are you calling hubby?" Henry's voice came from behind, carrying a hint of anger. "How many times are you going to use the same trick?" That's right, in my previous life, I often pretended to be intimate with other boys to make Henry jealous. He would get angry and then casually comfort me. But this time, the other person was the little troublemaker he despised the most. I hugged Eric, crying even more fiercely. "Hubby, you're really still alive." I couldn't believe it. My hand slipped under his clothes, desperately trying to check if there was that fatal wound on his chest from my previous life. Eric was terrified by my actions. "Damn. What are you doing?" I sobbed. "Take off your clothes. Let me see." His face instantly turned red. "I'm a decent person." I cried even harder. "I need to check. Please let me take a look." He didn't know where to put his hands. Finally, he helplessly lowered his voice. TCH, wait, can we do this when there's no one around? Watching this scene, Henry's eyes showed disgust. Lucia, don't you feel ashamed doing this in public? This time, I won't comfort you. He turned and left. The crowd also dispersed unhappily. Lucia, the show's over. Aren't you going to let go? The voice above me was tinged with mockery. I kept shaking my head, sobbing and hiccuping as I clung to his neck. I won't let go. I'll never let go of you in this lifetime. At 18, Lucia hadn't broken her leg, hadn't fallen into depression. At 18, Eric hadn't yet taken a knife for her. There was still time to change everything. Eric, in disbelief, threatened me, then shall I leave? He carried me out of the classroom. As soon as we exited, the head teacher's voice rang out. Hey, Eric, why aren't you training properly? What are you doing embracing a female classmate like that? I still held on to him tightly. Seeing I wasn't budging, Eric explained with a red face. Sir, this female classmate has broken her leg. I'm carrying her to the infirmary. The head teacher's tone softened. You're quite the caring one, aren't you? I suddenly remembered that in my past life, Eric was just like this. He carried me around the world to see doctors for my leg, accompanied me through rehabilitation training after everyone had left. He looked at me, somewhat exasperated. Lucia, what game are you playing? I clung to his neck, refusing to let go. Hubby. He felt his scalp tingle at the word and gritted his teeth. Don't call me hubby. Who's your hubby? You're my hubby. I pouted, feeling wronged. I love my dearest hubby the most. His head was about to explode. He reminded me sternly. Do you remember who threw away my love letter yesterday? I felt awkward for a moment. I really came back at an inconvenient time. Eric had confessed to me before, and at that time I had viciously stomped on his love letter. I hate meatheads like you who are all brawn and no brain. Come to think of it, I was a dancer with flexible limbs, but not much in the way of brains either. Actually, I didn't hate Eric that much. It was Henry who hated him, and I just followed suit. He hated all idiots, especially those like Eric who had poor grades and acted like tyrants at school. I blinked my eyes, explaining to him with a sincere face. Well, I was actually testing you yesterday, and I promised, hubby, from now on I'll only like you. Eric's mouth twitched slightly. Tisk, can you stop calling me hubby? I shook my head. No, he gritted his teeth, resigning himself. Fine. Call me whatever the hell you want. Looking at me, clinging to him like a koala, he sighed. But Lucia, you're a person, not a monkey. Can you get off me? But I want to hug you a little longer. His Adam's apple bobbed. Even his ear tips turned red. 18-year-old Eric was really adorably fierce. Eric turned and carried me to his great-uncle's house. The old man sat at the entrance of the alley, telling fortunes for people every day, always muttering mysterious things. Uncle, she seems possessed. Great-uncle stroked his beard, glancing at me. Oh my bloodshot eyes. She must have been followed by something. He took out a yellow paper and drew a talisman. Stick this on her body to ward off evil spirits. Eric put me down outside the house, instructing me. Wait for me a moment. Don't follow me. I'll be right back. I didn't listen to him and quietly followed to the doorway. I only heard him ask in a low voice. Uncle, I was wondering, is there a talisman to keep her possessed forever? I secretly rejoiced. Little one, you've already been crazy about me, mad for me, head over heels for me. Oh, Eric, in this life, let me be the one to rush towards you. I lived at the foster house. Our two families were old friends, and Henry and I had been betrothed since childhood. When I was 10, my parents passed away unexpectedly. Henry held my hand tightly. Lucia, you still have me. I'll always be with you. I moved into the foster house and his parents treated me very well. I had been learning dance since I was little, so his mother hired the best teachers for me. My closet was full of beautiful clothes Mrs. Foster bought for me, but no matter how good they were to me, I wasn't their child. They had originally considered me as their future daughter-in-law until I broke my leg and couldn't walk normally. They felt such a daughter-in-law wouldn't be presentable and told me, Lucia, we've always loved you like our own daughter, and Henry sees you as his own sister. Don't worry, We'll definitely find you a good husband. At the dinner table, Mr. and Mrs. Foster served me food, asking about my studies. Remembering what they said in my past life, I found it somewhat laughable. I put down my chopsticks. Mr. and Mrs. Foster, I'd like to live in the school dormitory. It would help me focus on my studies. You know my academic performance isn't very good. They were a bit surprised. How can you live in those poor conditions at the school dormitory? Lucia, don't put so much pressure on yourself. Henry has good grades. He can tutor you. I calmly shook my head. No, thank you. He's busy with competitions lately. I don't want to bother him. Mrs. Foster seemed to sense something. Did you two have a fight? Henry remained silent, and I smiled. Not at all. He's very good to me, and I've always seen Henry as my own brother. In the future, he'll surely find a daughter-in-law for you who is just as excellent as he is. Henry's gaze paused, and he looked at me. I had no appetite, so I got up and went to the bedroom. But lying in bed, just like in my previous life, the familiar feeling of insomnia hit me again. Back then, my depression was severe and I relied on sleeping pills to fall asleep every day. It wasn't until I got together with Eric that I slowly recovered. Insomniacs are always anxious and irritable. I simply got up and went to the living room to pour a glass of water. To my surprise, I ran into Henry Foster. Eat something. I saw you didn't eat much at dinner. He placed a bowl of my favorite chicken wonton soup in front of me. Are you still upset about what happened earlier today? He crouched in front of me and sighed helplessly. I'm just angry that you're already in your senior year and not focusing on your studies. Seeing that I didn't respond, he reached out and ruffled my hair. Come on, don't be angry, okay? He chuckled helplessly again. Silly girl. He was always like this, saying something nice gently after I felt wronged. And I was pathetic, always forgiving him repeatedly, deceiving myself that he liked me because he would be gentle with me and do seemingly thoughtful little things for me. Seeing that I didn't respond to him, he stroked my hair again, his tone indulgent. Do you think our future children will be as silly as you? In my previous life, he had said this before too. At the time, I was deeply moved, thinking he had considered our future. Little did I know, it was after he and Joanna won an award that a teacher had remarked, if these two end up together, their kids would be so smart. He wasn't thinking about marrying and having children with me, but worrying that being with me in the future would affect his next generation's intelligence. I forced a smile and looked at him. Don't worry, we won't have children in the future. Henry exhaled and frowned. Lucia, I'm very busy too. I don't have time to humor your inexplicable moods. I smiled calmly. It won't happen again in the future. Henry stopped coaxing me and returned to his own room. I left the house with dark circles under my eyes and went to bang on Eric's door. Eric's parents were divorced and he lived alone in a house near the school. As soon as the door opened, I instinctively threw myself into his arms. Hubby, I want to sleep with you. You, he looked shocked, holding up his hands, not knowing what to do. No, Lucia, I don't offer that kind of service. I can't sleep without you. I held him tightly, my voice tinged with tears and exhaustion. Hubby, I really want to sleep. He freaked out again, cursing under his breath. Fine. Sleep. I successfully entered his bedroom. As soon as I lay on his bed, he grabbed a pillow and ran towards the living room. I quickly grabbed his hand. Where are you going? To sleep on the couch. No, sleep together. I held his hand tightly, looking pitiful. Hubby, I can't sleep if you're not by my side. In my previous life, Eric was like my teddy bear. I always slept comfortably and felt safe with him by my side. I whimpered and clung to him, refusing to let go. He exploded in frustration and lay down stiffly on the bed. Fine, let's sleep. It's not like I'm the one losing out. Let me tell you, a delinquent like me is capable of anything. He talked tough, but turned his head away with a red face, keeping far away from me. I happily snuggled up to him, hugging him from behind. My hand unconsciously wandered downwards. He hugged the blanket and sat up abruptly. Lucia, where are you touching? I looked pitiful. Holding it gives me a sense of security. You might feel secure, but what about me? He tightly protected himself like a chaste man. Sometimes I really want to call the police on myself. You actually love it when I hug you to sleep naked. He looked at me in disbelief. What? When did I ever like sleeping naked? After we got together. After marriage, Eric fell in love with sleeping naked and forced me to join him. He claimed it was more comfortable to cuddle skin to skin. To be honest, it was indeed comfortable. Eric stared at me, full of questions. Lucia, are you possessed by some spirit that needs to suck men's energy to survive? Will you let me then? His face instantly turned bright red, and he rejected me righteously. Don't even think about it. Let me tell you, I'm a good student. I absolutely won't date early, but I really can't sleep if I'm not hugged. I pouted. Hubby. A flash of struggle appeared in his eyes. Well, just hugging innocently, okay? He looked exasperated and helpless. I'm begging you. I only got together with Eric when I was 25. Who knew that the flirtatious and promiscuous Eric would be so pure at 18? He's truly adorably innocent. 18 years old, the age of purity and capability. A pure high school boy. A sugar mama's favorite. It's so hard to resist. Can I just take a look? 18 years old. The age of tender freshness. Harder than diamond. Look at what? He acted like his tail had been stepped on, his ears turning red, and his eyes panicked. Lucia, are you even a girl anymore? Sigh, he doesn't understand. At 28, it's the age of being as fierce as a wolf and tiger. I bit my lip pitifully. Hubby. Even if you called me daddy, it wouldn't work. He wrapped me tightly in the blanket like a dumpling, restraining me from the outside. Go to sleep. And don't call me hubby anymore. I nodded. Okay, hubby. No, I mean okay, Eric. Familiar scent. Familiar heartbeat rhythm. My darling was back again. I looked at his 18-year-old self and spoke softly. Eric, I'm not possessed. I'm actually from 10 years in the future. I'm 28-year-old Lucia. Why don't you say you're a fairy descended from heaven? Really? I truly am from 10 years in the future. He nodded perfunctorily. Okay, I'd believe you even if you said you were from Mars. Don't believe me, I thought for a moment, glancing down at his lower body. You have a mole there. He jolted, his face filled with shock. Holy crap, Lucia, when did you sneak a peek? I said 7 years from now. He took a moment to process. You really are from 10 years in the future, unable to contain his curiosity. So did I win the world championship in 10 years? Of course. You won the world championship at 22 and achieved a grand slam at 25. No one in the world could swim faster than you. Damn, am I that awesome? He got a bit excited and asked further. What about you? Did you become a famous dancer too? I lowered my head slightly of course. Are we married? His voice carried a hint of caution and nervousness. Yes, we got together right after high school graduation. After you won the world championship at 22, you proposed to me in front of the whole world. His eyes lit up and he asked again, so, do we have children? I nodded with a smile. Yes, after we both became unrivaled in our respective fields, you announced your retirement at 28. And I gradually shifted my focus from the stage to teaching. That year we had our own child. I tried hard to suppress the ache in my nose. The year he won the world championship, he didn't propose to me at all. I had been living in a daze, making a mess of my life. 25-year-old Lucia was pulled out of the abyss by Eric, but she dragged him into darkness. Thankfully, for our 18-year-old selves, everything was still possible. I woke up feeling refreshed after that sleep. Eric had gone to training early. He's been swimming since he was 7 or 8, practicing daily for over a decade, constantly pushing his physical limits. The hardship involved far exceeds that of studying hard for exams. When I arrived at the classroom, I ran into our homeroom teacher. Oh good, Lucia, you're here. The graduation party is coming up soon. How's the program rehearsal going? I was a bit stunned, not quite reacting. My desk mate quickly answered for me. Teacher, Lucia dances super well, and she's doing a great job coaching us for the rehearsal. With Henry's piano solo added in, it'll be absolutely stunning. Our class will definitely win first place. Good. Keep up with the rehearsals then. I finally remembered that the graduation party was coming up soon. All the girls in our class were supposed to perform a group dance. Our teacher had said it was a rare chance to relax. Everyone came to the dance studio to practice. The program was set for all the girls to perform a classical dance, with Henry providing accompaniment and piano performance on the side of the stage. Henry had been good at piano since he was little, and he had a nice voice too. I really wanted to lead the group to win this honor, so I begged him for a long time before he agreed. But at this moment, in the rehearsal room, Joanna arrived late. Some classmates couldn't help but mock her. "Hey, Miss Top Student Joanna, we always have to wait for you. Can't you have some sense of teamwork?" Joanna remained composed. "Sorry, the principal just called me and Henry to give a speech as outstanding student representatives at the party." Her voice wasn't loud, but it carried a sense of superiority. Someone muttered quietly, "What's there to show off about?" Seeing Joanna join the group, I continued with the rehearsal. "All right, let's review yesterday's moves, and then we'll do a full run-through with Henry." Everyone was dancing well, except for Joanna, who again couldn't keep up with the rhythm. At this point, the voices of discontent grew louder. "Hey, Joanna, what's going on? You didn't learn the moves yesterday, and you said you'd practice on your own, but how come you still can't keep up today? Yeah, can you stop holding us back? Aren't top students supposed to learn everything quickly? Can't you handle such a simple move?" Everyone chimed in one after another. A flash of displeasure crossed Joanna's face, and she coldly replied, "Why should a small graduation performance take up my study time? Before criticizing others, you'd better look at your own grades. How dare you waste your youth here? What's the point of dancing this? Will it add points to your college entrance exam?" I couldn't hold back my anger anymore. "Joanna, you were the one who came late and didn't practice the moves well. Why are you blaming others for your mistakes?" She laughed mockingly. "Lucia, it's clearly you who wants to show off. Why are you dragging others to be your background dancers?" Someone couldn't stand it anymore. "This is about collective honor. How did it become about Lucia showing off? She's a dance student. Should we let someone like you who can't even coordinate your left and right lead instead?" At this, everyone burst into laughter. Joanna's face turned uncomfortable and she scoffed. "I can't be bothered to argue with you all. It's utterly pointless." With that one sentence she had angered everyone. Speaking of which, Joanna wasn't well liked in the class. She once coldly stated, "I don't like hanging out with girls. They're too scheming. I'm different from them." She really was different from us. While everyone was secretly reading mindless romance novels, she was holding a collection of Tagore's poems. When the teacher asked her to share her problem-solving method, she wrote a bunch of complex formulas and said, "This is calculus, which you'll only learn in university." I guess only Henry would understand. Many girls in the class thought she was too pretentious, but Henry considered her a kindred spirit. He even thought that I was leading the isolation and bullying of Joanna. When Henry stood up for her, she just calmly said, "Forget it, no point arguing with fools." Henry admired her even more for that. Someone once said that top students like Henry prefer girls who are their intellectual equals. They have cerebral relationships. In his eyes, I was just a simple-minded art student. I shrugged it off and said, "If that's the case, Joanna, then you shouldn't dance." I stared at her with a mocking smile. "After all, you look really funny when you dance." Another burst of laughter followed. "Yeah." She was so angry she couldn't speak. Henry, standing nearby, couldn't stand it anymore. "Lucia, why are you being so mean?" "Am I?" I laughed coldly. But in my previous life, after I lost my leg, she used the same tone to tell me, "Lucia, you look really funny when you walk." I was just imitating her, and she doesn't even have a broken leg. A flash of anger crossed Henry Foster's eyes. "Are you all going to bully Joanna endlessly?" He stood protectively in front of Joanna and declared, "I'm telling you, if she quits, I quit too." Joanna was so touched her eyes turned red. "Henry." I smiled nonchalantly. "That's great." In my previous life, Joanna didn't want me to steal the spotlight. So she deliberately fell at Henry's feet during the performance. Henry instinctively reached out to help her. The music stopped abruptly. The whole performance fell into an awkward silence. In the chaos, everyone lost their rhythm and the movements became messy. But Henry's instinctive act of saving Joanna was praised. They were both good students and already favored by the teachers. The teacher said friendship comes first, competition second. Henry's behavior was most worthy of emulation, and they were even given a special award. When receiving the award, Joanna deliberately waved at me. "Lucia, could you take a picture for us?" The whole audience gave them a round of applause. She and Henry were beaming. Meanwhile, the girls in our class were crying backstage, feeling wronged. After Henry and Joanna quit, everyone struggled with the lack of vocals. "Lucia, if it doesn't work out, let's just use the backing track," someone suggested helplessly. I waved my hand. "It's okay. Someone can fill in." In my previous life, when my depression was severe, Eric often held me and sang in my ear. His singing was really amazing. Later, when my leg recovered, he encouraged me to return to dance and the stage. I would dance, and he would play piano accompaniment for me. I immediately took out my phone and called him. "Eric, we need you to do a piano solo and sing for our performance." Without thinking, he replied, "I can't do it." I pulled out my trump card. "Hubby, please." "Shut up." "Honey, no. I mean, I'll be right there." I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Looking at his reaction, he's almost becoming Pavlov's dog. Eric came extremely unwilling, but quickly. When Henry and Joanna found out, they were a bit incredulous. "How can Eric replace you in the performance?" Henry snorted disdainfully. "A jack. What good music can he play?" In his eyes, athletes and art students were all paths for poor students. However, the doubts didn't affect our enthusiasm. When the evening party began, the lights came on. I led all the girls in the class in a graceful dance, and the gentle piano and deep voice slowly flowed out. Everyone was amazed. The audience erupted in thunderous applause and cheers. "It's incredible. The girls from our class are stunning. Vocals. Eric, what other surprises do you have that we don't know about?" "Sports rep. Why bother swimming? You might as well debut as a singer." After the performance, Eric came to my side, looking a bit smug. "Well, didn't embarrass you, did I?" I looked at him, my eyes practically shooting pink bubbles. "Hubby, you're the best." He lifted his chin. "Of course I am." Our performance received an extremely positive response, unsurprisingly winning first place. Eric and I went on stage as representatives to accept the award. The principal looked gratified. I didn't expect our school's students to be so talented. In previous years, we always chose students with good grades as representatives to give speeches. But all-round development in morality, intelligence, physical education, and arts is our direction. I believe in the future, our students will shine in various fields. So Lucia and Eric, as outstanding representatives, please give a speech. We were somewhat surprised for a moment. Our gaze swept across the audience below. Joanna tightly clutched her prepared speech, her face full of reluctance. Henry's gaze fell on us, his expression complex. I stood on the stage and took a deep breath. "Hello, everyone. I'm Lucia." My mother was an outstanding classical dancer before she passed away. Under her influence, I started on this path at the age of 7. From the initial basic training, countless falls, and getting back up, I never once thought of giving up. What dance has taught me is not only graceful posture, but also tenacity and perseverance and unrelenting pursuit of dreams. My dream is be City Dance University and to become the national dance champion. Eric also stepped forward, his tall figure appearing particularly upright. "Hello everyone, I'm Eric, a sports student who loves swimming. From the fear and despair of nearly drowning at 8 years old to swimming like a fish in the pool at 18. The daily training has been a double test of both body and will. Failure, pain and doubt have not made me give up because I have a dream." He paused, putting aside all frivolity, his gaze particularly determined. "My dream is be City Sports University and to become an Olympic champion." The audience erupted in applause. At 18, those regretful dreams will finally be fulfilled. After receiving the award and coming off stage, the girls in her class swarmed around, taking photos with the trophy. "Let's find someone to take a group photo for us," someone suggested. I smiled and waved at Joanna. "Joanna, could you please take a photo for us? After all, you're the only one who didn't participate." Joanna suppressed her anger and raised her phone. Eric strode over to Henry, handed him his phone with a smug smile. "Class monitor, please help take a photo of me and my honey." Henry took it with a cold face. Eric showed me the photo. How is it? I said just okay. Eric, looking quite pleased with himself. Then we'll have to trouble the class monitor once more. My honey isn't too satisfied. Henry finally couldn't hold back and shouted at Eric. Eric, who do you think you are? He put his arm around me, smiling brilliantly. Me. I'm Lucia's hubby, of course. Henry's face turned ashen as he gritted his teeth and looked at him. You're just a sports student troublemaker. How are you worthy of Lucia? Olympic champion? That's just a pipe dream. I stepped forward looking at Henry Foster. I sneered. Henry, if I remember correctly, in this mock exam, your ranking was 25th in the province. Do you know what Eric's recent competition results are? 2nd in the province, 5th in the nation. You're the one who's actually underperforming. Where do you get the nerve to look down on others? I tugged at Eric's sleeve, turned around and left side by side with him. Send me the photo. I want to use it as my wallpaper. Wait, I need to beautify it. How can you, a big man, be whiter than me? That's from being pickled in the pool's bleach. After school, Eric and I were on our way home when Henry intercepted us. I was irritated. What do you want? He explained. Aren't you planning to apply to the dance university in B City? Come home. I'll help you with your academic subjects. I don't need it. In the past, when he tutored me, he was always extremely impatient. He couldn't understand why I couldn't grasp such simple problems. Every time he helped me, it was like torture for him. About the evening performance, I was wrong. I apologize. He lowered his stance, his tone unusually gentle. Can you stop being upset? I chuckled. Henry, I've never been upset with you. My studies are none of your concern. If you're bored, why don't you go discuss poetry, literature, and philosophy with Joanna? Lucia, I don't like Joanna. He hurriedly explained, then promised me. I'll apply to B City for college. After graduation, we'll be together, I promise. I frowned, directly exposing his lie. But didn't you and Joanna just apply to prestigious universities abroad? Lucia, I was just trying. I don't really plan to go abroad. I found it utterly amusing. In my previous life, he also said he'd go to B City with me. Until the day of my art exam, Joanna deliberately told me. Henry asked me where I wanted to go to college. I said I wanted to study abroad, so he applied to the same school with me. He didn't tell you? She held herself high, her face full of disgust. Lucia, how long are you going to cling to him? He clearly doesn't like you. In the whole world, only Henry is worthy of me, and only I am worthy of him. That time, because of Joanna's provocation, I didn't get into my desired school. When I confronted Henry, he casually explained that foreign universities offered better advantages and that he didn't like Joanna. He acknowledged our relationship, giving me the status of girlfriend. He told me to wait for him for a few years, and we'd get married after he graduated. I believed him. When he graduated, he said he needed to focus on his career first. He and Joanna started a business together, catching the industry boom, and their careers took off. During those years, I danced in a troupe, with mediocre success. My teacher always said I had great potential, but my movements lacked emotion. Henry and Joanna became the media's golden couple, a perfect match. The marriage he promised me was postponed time and time again. I glanced at the date on the calendar. The college entrance exam was getting closer. Anyway, Henry was about to go abroad and I wouldn't chase after him anymore. The next morning, when Eric and I were leaving, we unexpectedly ran into Henry. His parents were with him. They all looked stern, filled with shock and anger. Henry questioned me first. Lucia, you haven't been staying in the school dorm at all. You've been living at his place these past few days. I didn't deny it. That's right. Hearing this, his parents' expressions immediately changed. Lucia, how can a good girl like you be so shameless? We've always treated you like our own daughter, raised you like a little princess. And you've stooped so low as to live with this hoodlum. Get back home right now. I stood there quietly, listening to their scathing remarks. Then I curled my lips and spoke calmly. Mr. and Mrs. Foster, I'm grateful for your care all these years, but I'm an adult now. I can walk my own path. You spent a lot of money raising me these years. That's true. But the assets my parents left me when they passed away have been managed by you all this time. The profits from that should far exceed the cost of raising me, right? I won't ask for it back. Consider it my gratitude for your care, but I won't trouble you anymore. I'll have a lawyer handle the handover." Hearing this, they instantly became furious. "Lucia, do you think we raised you for your family's money? Indeed, a child that's not your own is different. We raised her for so many years, and she turns out to be an ungrateful wretch. You're not very bright, but we never looked down on you. We've always seen you as our future daughter-in-law. Is this how you repay us? How can you face your parents in the afterlife, behaving like this?" Scenes from the past flashed through my mind. My former self naively believed their words, struggling in their indifference. But in this life, I will never let myself be manipulated again. "Huh, you treated me like your own daughter? Saw me as your future daughter-in-law? In my previous life, everyone was shipping Henry and Joanna. No one knew about me, the official girlfriend. I couldn't stand it and revealed my relationship with Henry online. The foster couple angrily questioned me. "Lucia, do you know this will ruin Henry's image and affect his career? He's already given you the girlfriend status, and we've acknowledged you. What more do you want? You're idle all day, just being jealous. Look at Joanna. Why is she so excellent?" But in a media interview, they said, "Lucia? Oh, she and Henry were betrothed as children. Her parents passed away when she was young, and we took her in out of pity. We've always treated her like our own daughter. She's been attached to her brother since childhood." In an instant, my name was all over the gossip news. Arranged marriage from childhood? What era is this, forcing people into marriages? They adopted her, and she repays kindness with enmity. Such an ungrateful wretch. Henry and Joanna are clearly campus sweethearts, but this gloomy stepsister has to interfere. I heard she was a delinquent in school, often bullying Joanna. She's really gone crazy for fame. I heard she's some unknown dancer. Dancing? You mean pole dancing? Looking at her, she must have had plastic surgery. Completely outclassed by Joanna's cool goddess aura. During that time, I was doxxed, cyberbullied, and abandoned by the whole world. All thanks to them. So this time, I absolutely won't make the same mistake again. Lucia, if you regret this later, don't come crying back to us." Mrs. Foster spat out these words viciously, as if she had already foreseen my miserable future life. Henry stood nearby, shocked by my words and actions, angrily questioning me. "Lucia, how can you speak to my parents like this? Do you have no conscience?" I scornfully tugged at the corner of my mouth, revealing a cold smile. "No, I'm just an ungrateful wretch. Please leave me alone." Henry's parents pulled him away, instructing him. "Son, let's go home. Don't get involved with her anymore in the future." I stood there silently for a long time. So long that I didn't realize when Eric suddenly hugged me, asking in a low voice, "Lucia, did you lie to me? Were you unhappy in your past life?" My eyelids trembled and my nose felt a bit sour. Actually, we didn't get together after high school graduation. I chased after Henry for many years, ending up with nothing but wounds. At 25, my depression became so severe that I attempted suicide, and then I fell off the stage. At that time, you appeared and said, "Lucia, I'm a world champion now. I'll clear your name. Marry me and I'll make you the happiest person in the world. We'll show that dog couple." On the day we got our marriage certificate, you announced to the media, "This is my wife, the girl I've had a crush on for many years." Many people criticized you for being blinded by love and unfollowed you, but you didn't care. You said athletes speak with their achievements. You took me everywhere to seek medical treatment for my leg, for rehabilitation. When I was anxious, you played the piano and sang for me. You held me while sleeping, becoming my exclusive sleeping pill. I was slowly healed by you and returned to the stage. I hugged him tightly, whispering in his ear, "Every day with you was happy." He patted my back, one stroke at a time. But I still appeared too late. I leaned into Eric's embrace, not letting him see the tears in my eyes. I didn't tell him that we didn't actually stay happy forever. Eric was at his peak when he married me. At that time, he had achieved a grand slam and was a national hero. But an athlete's golden period only lasts a few years. No one can stay on top forever. Yet everyone had extremely high expectations for him. Even if he won silver, he'd be criticized for not training hard enough because of me. Until one competition, when he was already injured and unexpectedly developed a high fever before the match. I was so worried and insisted he withdraw from the competition. But at that time, a fanatical fan swung the knife at me, shouting that I was the one dragging him down. And Eric instinctively shielded me behind him. As the college entrance exam approached, Eric and I crammed for our cultural courses while frantically improving our professional skills. Fortunately, in the new round of competitions, Eric won the provincial championship. I devoted all my energy to the art exam. On the day of the exam, I touched his gold medal, desperately seeking good luck. With the gold medal buff, I performed steadily throughout. Surprisingly, I got first place in the art exam. As soon as I left the exam room, I wanted to give him a big hug. Unexpectedly, I ran into my idol. He was tall and handsome in person, and even greeted me. "Hello, your dance just now was great." I was ecstatic and made Eric take a photo of us. My idol looked at the gloomy-faced someone and asked curiously, "Who is he?" "Oh, he's my classmate." On the way back, someone was acting like a jealous wife. "Who's a classmate? Why aren't you calling me hubby anymore? Got what you wanted and don't love me anymore? Hush, shut up. So I'm just a third wheel, right? I'm just a joke, right? Me, don't make me kiss you in front of all these people." He shut up in a second. I secretly poked his waist. "When can I kiss you?" His face turned red. "Wait until there's no one around." Soon after, the college entrance exam results were announced. And Eric and I both passed the threshold. We both received admission notices from our desired schools. What I didn't expect was that Henry didn't go abroad to study. Instead, he and Joanna both got into the same university in B City. The combination of top students from the same class still caused quite a stir at the school. They would still compete together and win awards together. On the school forum, someone posted a photo of the two, remarking that they were a perfect match. Faced with everyone's discussions, Henry Foster directly denied it. "We're just classmates. I have someone I like." Later, people discovered that he seemed to really have someone he liked. He enjoyed watching classical dance performances. Every time he went, he would bring a bouquet of sunflowers, and people speculated it was for the girl he liked. By that time, we were already in our second year of university. Eric had joined the national team due to his outstanding performance. I became an overnight internet celebrity after being a dance double in a hit TV drama. Netizens were full of praise. "Lucia's dancing is amazing. No wonder she was the top arts exam candidate back then. With that face and figure. Has she considered entering the entertainment industry? I heard she has a performance coming up. I'm going to grab tickets right away." The theater performances were sold out every time. Then, people started to notice. At every performance, there was always a young man with a bouquet of sunflowers sitting in the front row, quietly watching the stage. Later, someone spread the word that he young man was a top student from a prestigious university and my childhood sweetheart. Netizens began to ship us like crazy. At this time, Joanna posted a photo of her and Henry at a competition with the caption, "The person who understands each other the most." However, this time it was met with a wave of criticism. "It's not you, sis. Henry has already denied it, saying you're just classmates. What are you trying to gain from this? Lady, are you desperate for fame? Joanna, you look down on people because of your grades in school." Everyone was quite annoyed with her. "What does their childhood sweetheart relationship have to do with you? Who gave you the confidence to think Henry would like you? You look so scheming and vicious. Lucia beats you in figure, looks, and temperament." The online gossip news reached unprecedented levels of popularity. Henry's parents even accepted a media interview, stating, "Lucia, she's our daughter-in-law. She and Henry are childhood sweethearts. They've been betrothed since they were little. After Lucia's parents passed away, we took her in, nurtured her dancing, and treated her like our own daughter." Seeing the couple's completely different attitude, I could only find it amusing. I rejected all their friendly phone calls and posted the contract I had a lawyer draft years ago. It clearly stated the money they had earned from my family's assets over the years. I thought this couple was so kind. Didn't expect they were just leeches. Lucia has been dancing since she was 7. How is that you're nurturing? You've been sucking her blood and still want her to be grateful. Have you no shame? Many media outlets asked me about my relationship with Henry. We heard that you and Henry are childhood sweethearts. I thought for a moment we're from the same village, not close. I then posted a tweet tagging Eric. This is my not yet legal husband. Instantly, Eric's account gained countless followers. Oh my God, as expected of Lucia's choice, all the handsome ones are indeed serving the country. That body, those long legs. I can't imagine how delightful it would be to sleep on top of that. What a perfect match. I'm totally shipping this. That night, I slept on top of those six-pack abs, exceptionally happy. Someone was no longer at the age where he'd get flustered at a single touch. He had many tricks up his sleeve and was particularly enthusiastic. I gradually couldn't keep up. He had already swum 3,000 meters. How did he still have so much energy left? Sleep, sleep. I'm about to pass out. I protested loudly, holding down his mischievous hands. Button up your clothes properly. He skillfully avoided my grasp, his voice low and husky. Honey, how can you call it sleeping with clothes on? After the performance ended, I saw Henry again. This guy, he's really despicable. Back when I was chasing after him, he couldn't care less. Now that I'm avoiding him, he's like a persistent leech that can't be shaken off. He was holding flowers, looking dejected. Lucia, I understand, I've done many things in the past that hurt you, but I really do like you. All these years, I always thought you'd look back at me once. He lowered his head, his voice hoarse, eyes reddened. I don't understand why, all of a sudden, you stopped caring about me. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself down, but scenes from my past life kept flashing like a desperate dream. Henry Foster, I had a dream. After graduation, you left me and Joanna to study abroad. You said we'd get married when you graduated. I waited and waited until you graduated. Then you said you needed a career before you could marry me. Asked me to wait a little longer. Later, you started a business with Joanna. You spent day and night together, admiring each other, becoming the golden couple in everyone's eyes. No one knew that I was your girlfriend. At that time, I begged you to come see my performance. Even if just once, to bring me a single flower, I would have forgiven you. But you never came even once. He stood there stunned, somewhat in disbelief. I looked at him and gave a bitter smile. Tell me, what class does that kind of small theater have? Do you know how busy I am every day? Yes, you're busy dating Joanna, ringing the bell at NASDAQ together, traveling together, meeting parents together. I waited for you for so many years and not resigned. But what can I do? Everyone thinks I'm the evil supporting actress. Actually, I was sick for a long time, and in the end, I tried to take my own life many times like a madwoman. Faced with my repeated moral blackmail, you got tired and sad. Fine, I'll marry you, okay? But just before the wedding, Joanna sent me her pregnancy report and I, in a daze, fell from the high stage and became crippled. I closed my eyes, my throat tightening. In the end, your parents gave me a sum of money, telling me to fend for myself. He froze, hurriedly explaining. How could I do that? I wouldn't do that, Lucia. I said I would always protect you. It's just a dream. I shook my head indifferently. No, it's not. Henry, I may not be smart enough, but I'm not stupid. I looked at him directly. Do you really like me? No, you don't. You're just unwilling to let go. You're so smart, you know what I like, you know why I'm unhappy, and you know how to comfort me. But you just won't do it, letting me suffer time and time again. What you enjoy is nothing more than my pursuit of you. And Joanna's admiration for you wanting to have it all. Put away your cheap affection. I don't want it, and you're not worthy of it. After Eric joined the national team, he began participating in international competitions. He also kept breaking his own records. The whole world saw his brilliance. After I gained some fame, I focused on preparing for the national dance competition. This championship is the most prestigious honor in the dance world. My mother's biggest regret before she passed was not winning this championship. So I was determined to do my best to fulfill her wish. Eric and I, to be honest, spent more time apart than together. On a rare occasion, we had a date near the school. Just after walking a few steps, a car suddenly rushed out at the intersection. Eric, almost instantly, reacted and shielded me behind him. After a loud crash, we both fell to the ground. The image of him covered in blood from my previous life flashed before my eyes. My heart felt as if it was being tightly gripped by an invisible hand. I trembled all over, screaming his name hoarsely, Eric. "Honey, I'm fine. I'm okay." He hurriedly comforted me. Don't cry, it's just a scratch, I'm fine." I was already in tears, trembling as I caressed his face, sobbing. "You idiot. You scared me to death. You didn't die. You didn't die." I hugged him tightly. "From now on, you're not allowed to get hurt, not allowed to bleed, not allowed to stand in front of me." He nodded repeatedly. Okay, but I didn't know that no matter how many times we relived this, at the moment danger struck, he would still instinctively protect me. After a long while, we finally came to our senses. Only then did we realize that the person in the car was Joanna Lucia. "You actually didn't die." She stared at me, her face pale, her eyes hollow. However, her features had changed completely, very fake, with obvious signs of plastic surgery. There was a time when rumors spread that Joanna had started obsessively getting plastic surgery. I didn't pay attention, but it turned out to be true. A high school classmate once gossiped that she had confessed to Henry. Henry rejected her without hesitation and said her behavior was extremely cheap. Joanna, unwilling to accept it, asked why. Henry impatiently threw out a sentence. "For many things, looking in the mirror might give you the answer." At that time, many people online cursed her for being an ugly troublemaker. She started getting plastic surgery, becoming more and more dissatisfied with her face. But I heard her family wasn't very wealthy, so she started taking out online loans. She neglected her studies a lot, and the school also gave her disciplinary action. In the end, unable to pay off her debts, she actually became the mistress of a middle-aged boss. Joanna stared at me like a madwoman, screaming hoarsely. "It's all because of you. My entire life is ruined because of you. Lucia, why do you get everyone's adoration while I can only live in darkness when I'm so much better than you?" I smiled calmly. Maybe it's karma. I looked at the once proud and arrogant Joanna, now so down and out. And after a moment of silence said, "Let's call the police." The year I graduated from university, hard work pays off. I won the National Dance Championship. As soon as I stepped off the stage, I saw someone holding a bouquet of flowers, waving their arms. I happily ran into his embrace and asked him, "Did I dance beautifully?" "Breathtakingly beautiful. Like a fairy." He stared at me like a lovesick fool. That same year, Eric represented the country in the Olympics. At 22 years old, he swam vigorously in the pool with astonishing speed and endurance, leaving the world record line behind him, achieving yet another breakthrough. At the award ceremony, he watched the national flag slowly rise, his eyes reddening. When reporters interviewed him, he could no longer hold back, crying with excitement. "Thank you to my country. Thank you to my coach. Thank you. Thank you to my girlfriend." His voice choked, tears falling steadily, crying more and more emotionally. Eventually, several reporters gathered around to comfort him. Just then, as if suddenly remembering something, he frantically and shakily pulled out a diamond ring from his pocket, crying uncontrollably. The reporters looked at me helplessly, anxious and worried. "You should accept him quickly, or we won't be able to calm him down." I looked at this embarrassing sight, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. I hurriedly went over to hug him, putting the ring on my own finger. "Okay, all right, yes I do." After a long while, someone asked me with a red face, "Honey, was I very embarrassing just now?" I sighed. "Well, it was okay." He raised both hands and promised, next time I definitely won't cry." I rolled my eyes at him speechlessly. He says this every time, but every time he sheds little pearls. Half the water in the swimming pool is from his tears. In the following years, Eric represented the country, winning honor after honor. I also worked hard and made it to bigger stages. At 28, Eric couldn't swim anymore and retired with a body full of honors. He started coaching young athletes to break his own records. I also handed the stage over to younger dancers and returned to teaching. This year, we started our plan to have a child. I asked him worriedly, "Do you think our child might be particularly stupid?" He said, "If excellent, serve the country. If ordinary, bring joy to the family." Neither of us had ever had a complete family or love. We would raise our younger selves anew. In the 10th year after graduation, we attended the school celebration as outstanding alumni. Several classmates from back then accompanied us. Suddenly, someone mentioned, "Hey, do you know about Henry Foster? I heard his family went bankrupt." I heard that after graduation, he made a lot of money building on land he bought when starting his business. But later the industry declined, his capital chain broke, and I think he lost a lot on investments too. Now his company is bankrupt, everything's been forcibly executed. I was stunned for a moment, feeling that this name was so unfamiliar. "Hey, Lucia, didn't you used to like him back then?" I shook my head frantically. "That's not true.